Stop right there, comic fam, because we have to chat about the comics defining this generation of collectors. But before we do, give a big shout out to Gem Mint from Gem Mint Collectibles. How you feeling, brother?
What's going on, Comic Tom? I'm feeling great. How about you?
I'm feeling pretty good, but not as good as this next winner, because they're going to be getting the biggest giveaway prize we've ever done on the show. Let's give a big congratulations, a drum roll, please, to MG. You won the Berserker 1 in 1,000 variant Boom Studio goodness signed by Keanu Reeves.
Yo, congrats, MG. You won a book that just pre-sold for $4,000.
Comic fam, hit the like, hit the subscribe, because we have another giveaway at the end of the video. And let's hit them off at number 10 with ASM 129, the first appearance of The Punisher.
Punisher's been showing up on the list for the past couple of weeks. We don't have any new news, but we do have some new record-breaking sales. We're going to jump in at this CGC 7.0 that sold for $1,850 just last week. It's up 14% with a high sale of $2,100.
The 8.5 back in January selling for $2,575, now landing at $3,200. That's an increase of 24%.
And then the 9.2 is up 13% as well. This sold for $4,680 back in February, just sold for $5,300.
Last week, we chatted about the uptick in price of the 9.8, once going for $16,700, selling for an astonishing $24,250. This right here is proving that when that market moves up and that grade hits new heights, it affects the ones below it. And with no signs of Punisher being introduced in comic books, probably my guess, throughout the rest of the year, maybe not even ever again, this right here is hopes for a Bronze Age key for a respected character. However, it is unclear what his future will be.
Moving on to number 9, we have the first appearance of everyone's favorite Merc with the mouth. We're talking about Deadpool and New Mutants 98.
This book's hitting some major records, comic fan, but last week it was $1 shy of clearing the $2,000 mark for the first time, and this week it blew past it. Let's get into it. A 9.6 that once went for $873 last week is up 15%, hitting that $1,000 marker.
And then we have the CGC 9.8 that you just mentioned, selling for $2,000 last week. It's up 37%, selling for $2,750. And I just knew this book was going to make the list. I saw collectors posting this all over the Facebook groups, and it seems like this book, which once sold for $600 on the average, is now up to $2,750.
Now, is this an anomaly? No, because in this last week, this record above 2K was broken 6 different times. And it didn't just stop there, because that 9.6 sale was broken twice.
And with the direct market CGC 9.8 selling for more than $2,000 comfortably multiple times, you know what's going to happen the next time we see a Mark Jewelers or a newsstand edition.
Now, this is a comfortable investment for Deadpool fans, because they were rejoicing this month after finding out that Kevin Feige solidified and confirmed that this will be an R-rating film that they are currently in development for. It's probably going to be a bit more violent than raunchy. However, I think we're in good hands, and we're going to see this character hit the screen the way that we expect him to. Coupling that with this being one of those comic books, those key books that for new collectors, it's one of the first they're hunting for, because traditionally it was way cheaper, as mentioned. I remember getting Deadpool's first appearance at conventions near a decade ago for under $30.
When I first got into collecting key issues and sending them off to CGC, I bought this book raw off of eBay for $150. I sent it to CGC, no press, no clean, and it came back a 9.8. I was so happy to sell it for $425, which was the going rate at the time. And I think a day or so later, the leaked test footage from the Deadpool movie came out, and this book immediately shot up.
Comic fam, you got to keep up on your comics by utilizing that code TOM101 on the best collectors app in existence. We're chatting key collector comics. This is where we source all of our information from, and you can get this information sooner than our video by utilizing that code and supporting what we do. But enough of that. Let's chat about ASM 316 making the list at number 8.
Speaking of books that shot up, man, this is one of my all-time favorite covers. First cover appearance of Venom, third full appearance of Venom. And this book used to be crazy affordable. Like a 9.8 was $150, if I'm not mistaken. Now we have insane record-breaking sales.
That's right, Gem. That same 9.8 back in November was going for $995. Now up 31%, going for $1,300. And this right here is one of those unique situations in that it's become a subcategory of collectible, the first consumer-facing image of a key character. And considering that so many members are sending books down to get graded in mass, more than we've ever seen, I think that this is something that every character that has this type of monumental appearance on a cover, it needs to be thought of again. This is a key moment because people want to see it on the front. They want to show their friends. They want to hang up these books on the wall. I know I want to put mine up on my set, and this right here shows that it's mattering more and more to the collector's market by the day.
It's the first time this book has sold for over $1,000 for the direct edition 9.8, and it broke that record 3 times this week.
Keep an eye out for both the Mark Jewelers and the newsstand variant for this particular book. I think the heights of those are going to push the direct market copy up even further than anyone predicted.
And speaking of first cover appearances, the second printing of Ultimate Fallout 4, the first appearance of Miles Morales, is heating up as well because, as you know, that first printing didn't show his face on the cover, whereas that second printing shows his mug.
And now we're at the list at number 7 with Fantastic Four number 5, another character who's featured for the first time on the inside, but on the cover as well. We got the first appearance of Dr. Doom, the origin story, and the fact that members are highly anticipating the first Marvel family to be introduced into the MCU. Why not spec on their first villain, their greatest villain? And considering the Black Panther spec, who's causing a ruckus under the waters of Wakanda? You know it's probably Dr. Doom, maybe some Mariner. Doesn't matter because we're seeing across the board an uptick in price of over 20%.
That's right, we know Doom is coming, and until he gets here, we're going to see record-breaking prices. The entry-level 1.5, which sold for $3,000 back in November, is up 33% with a sale of $4,000.
That 3.0, once going for $6,180, just sold for $7,610. That's a 23% increase in under 2 months.
The 4.5 is up 25%, selling for $6,700 back in 2019, just broke record selling for $8,400.
And we're not just stopping with those entry-level grades. No, we have an 8.5, once going for $24K back in September, selling for an astonishing $39,777. That's an increase of 65%.
And moving on to number 6, I don't know why it brings me so much joy to see the book on this list, but we have West Coast Avengers issue 45, the first appearance of the colorless Vision.
We didn't get Mephisto, we didn't get Chthon, we didn't even get Nightmare, but I think we got something we were all hoping for, which was the reintroduction of our favorite Marvel android. And I'm not talking Ultron, I'm talking the Vision, but a version of the Vision, and with the prices creeping up the way they are, we are seeing comic history in the making.
And I think the way they ended this series with this version of Vision still out there, it's going to give this book more legs and more room to breathe. We have record-breaking sales in a 9.4, which sold for $108 back in February, up 131% with a sale of $300.
A 9.6 is up 421%, once going for $120 just in January, comic fam, up to $625 this week.
And then we have the 9.8, which was already benefiting from the teaser at the end of episode 8, had a high sale of $650 last week. It's up 130% with a high sale of $1,500.
Now consider this, comic fam. This book is an homage to Avengers 57, the blue chip book, the first appearance of the Vision. And a 9.0, 9.2 of that blue chip key goes for what this book goes for in 9.8, and that's a Silver Age comic. This right here is proving that it goes beyond the collectible within our community, beyond the comic fam. It is hitting the mainstream. That is how much of a big deal WandaVision has been for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We're getting a whole new fandom, all new collectors into this community. And that's why this book is hitting these new grounds.
All right, guys, halfway through this list, and we're talking Incredible Hulk 180? We're always talking about 181, but we're talking about the first cameo appearance of Wolverine.
Now, clearly with Hulk 181 shooting up and up every single week and the inevitable introduction of the mutants into the MCU, I was really hoping for Professor X or something to happen within WandaVision. But you know what? We did get something small. You know, aside from seeing a version of Quicksilver that wasn't actually Quicksilver, which was kind of a letdown, we did learn that Scarlet Witch knows that her powers were something that she was born with. And that matters because that is reserved for mutants in the Marvel Universe.
The Incredible Hulk 181 in a 9.4 sold for $21,350 this week on Comic Link, which was $5,000 higher than the record sale from January. So with Hulk 181 pricing collectors out of the market, everyone's going to go towards the next best thing, and his first cameo appearance is nothing to scoff at. We have a record-breaking sale in a CGC 7.0, which sold for $1,050 in February. It's up 47% with this $1,550 sale.
An 8.0 just in March. That's right. This month went for $13,500, went up 41%, selling for $1,550.
And then you got the CGC 8.5, which sold for $1,700 in February. It's up 35% with a high sale of $2,300 this week.
So Comic Fam, let's get into the great debate. Key Collector broke it down for you. Let's actually compare some of the costs between these books and also give you some information about how we got here, because it is a misunderstanding. A lot of people think that the collectors made this happen, and I suspect that that is not the case.
All right, so looking at price differences between the 180 and the 181, a CGC 2.5 for the 180 runs about $350, where the 181 sells for $2,000. Then you got the 9.6, where that Incredible Hulk 180 sells for $4,500. The 181 sells for $18,000.
I love what Key Collector says here. The 180 versus 181 debate will only die as the sun sets on humanity's last day. But how did we get to this point? And Key Collector opened up the overstreets and found the answers.
1972, Incredible Hulk 180 and 181 are both published.
Then 6 years later, in 1978, we actually see a notation for the first time. Hulk 181 reads, Wolverine's appearance. Yeah, that's right. They misspelled it even.
1981 is the first time that Overstreet price guide actually gives 181 the first appearance designation.
Oh my goodness, calling it the first appearance. But you know what? It started getting dicey because in 1982, Hulk 180 gets the first appearance of Wolverine written down in Overstreet. 181 officially becomes a cameo, and 182 also becomes a cameo appearance.
Then in the following year, 1983, Overstreet changes the designation again. They give 180 the first appearance in cameo, 181 just a Wolverine appearance, and 182 gets a Wolverine cameo as well.
Then in 1993, things get interesting. Hulk 180 gets a designation of the first appearance of Wolverine in cameo, and issue 181 is listed as the first full Wolverine story.
So as you can see, it's not CGC that designated this as the first full appearance. Overstreet's been going back and forth on this for years.
Now, considering that Hulk 180 introduced a character for the next issue, it would make sense that LCSs back in the day would be hyping Hulk 181, which is why we would see this oversight by Overstreet take place for so long. It's in the best interest of the dealers at that time to push the new exciting book. And this is actually an example that we can bring back to Amazing Spider-Man 300, because this is exactly what happened with Venom.
That's right. Amazing Spider-Man 299 was the first appearance of Venom in Wizard, and according to Todd McFarlane, he was even surprised to see that Amazing Spider-Man 300 had taken the title of the first appearance of Venom.
Comic Fam, you got to be watching the Todd McFarlane interview. Part 3 just dropped yesterday. And Part 4, I get into this exact thing with McFarlane, because it proves that it doesn't have to do with just the collector's market. It doesn't have to do with CGC. It has to do with way more than that, with Overstreet, with Wizard, with the comic history. You have to consider these things before you throw your vote per key book.
See, I'm totally cool with 180 being the first cameo and 181 being the first full appearance, but we want to hear your thoughts in the comments down below.
I agree with you, Gem, but for different reasons. I personally think that this isn't going to change. This bar has been set with this book. So we have 180 as the cameo and 181. I want to hear the community's thoughts in the comment section below. But I'll tell you, as a Hellboy collector, if Hellboy made that type of appearance in a prior issue to XMen 21, or even San Diego Comic-Con #2, or even Dime Press, need I say more? I would be hunting the cameo appearance over the first full. But I digress, because we have more comics to talk about.
That's right, and I'm shocked to see this book made the list after what I would consider a lot of speculator disappointment. Number 4 is Silver Surfer 3, the first appearance of Mephisto.
This book is a special one because we are talking about some chaotic sales. But is it chaos magic? Is it WandaVision hype? Because members were speccing heavily that this villain was going to make an introduction. And although the post-credit scene gives reason, some hope still that this character may be introduced, I think that it has to do with that, as well as the November 9.8 sale, the market adjusting since 2011, once going for $5,700, the new 9.8 correcting itself to 38 grand, affecting the rest of the grades.
I think there's a lot of collectors out there that are still holding on to hope that there's still a chance.
Hit me with it. Just give it to me straight.
Mephisto does not appear in WandaVision Season 1.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
We got a CGC 8.5 that sold for $2,325 last week. It's up 20%, selling for $2,800.
The 9.4 was going for $5,250 last month. Last week, up 52%, going for $8K.
Yeesh. And then the CGC 9.6, which had a high sale of $9,700 last week, it's up 64%, selling for $15,950.
No character has had this type of gains with this type of spec behind it in the last 30 years, comic fam. We got to hear your thoughts about Mephisto. I want to hear your thoughts about Chthon, the Darkhold, Nightmare. What do you expect to see in the MCU? And let's get into some mutant love at number 3. We got Giant Size X-Men number 1, the first appearance of the new team.
That's right, the first appearance of Storm, Colossus, Nightcrawler, Thunderbird, second full appearance of Wolverine. No news yet, just collectors still trying to get their copy before the mutants are introduced into the MCU. We have a CGC 3.5, which sold for $2,000 back in February of this year, up 35%, selling for $2,700.
That entry level is getting harder and harder to obtain. Now we have an 8.0, once going for $5,040 in January, up 46%, going for $7,350.
Then we have the 9.0, which sold for $7,350 just last week, up 44%, breaking the $10,000 mark, selling for $10,550.
Keep this in mind, comic fam. Gem and I have been covering the health of the comic market, this video, the comics defining this generation of collectors, for near a year. Since mid last year, and when X-Men 1 at 9.8 hit 15K, we saw the white pager emerge as the leading collectible, exceeding 16,000. Then the all-time record broke 20,500, and last week we were reporting on the Comic Links auction hitting an all-new record of 40,500. Clearly, members have high hopes for the introduction of Krakoa, the first appearance of the new team, into the MCU. This book is hot.
And speaking of hot, number 2 on the list, X-Men number 4, still riding off the success of WandaVision, first appearance of Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, including Toad, and the second full appearance of Magneto.
Big shout out to Primetime Treasure Hunter over on YouTube. The link in the description to follow him. He covers a bunch of eBay sales, and he showcased a bunch of WandaVision items that have been selling. So of course he talked about comic books, but he went over like various memorabilia, and there was a Disney Plus launch day promo box. It's filled with a bunch of knickknacks that sold for over $660 this week. It's not just the comic books.
You got to remember, last week we reported on the CGC 9.6 that went from $14,340 to $59,777. And we know the market's going to price correct all the lower grades. So jumping in at a 3.5, that entry level book that sold for $2,150 just last month, it's up 86% with a $4,000 sale.
The 6.5 is up since February, once going for $3,450, up 38%, going for $4,778.
And with that being so close to the 3.5 sale, it looks like there's still room to grow for the 6.5. Then we have the CGC 8.0, which sold for $7,812. It's up 11% with a high sale of $8,700.
Last week, to support what we do and join the mystery mail call, we have 2 different exclusives going out to every single member. The first, Peach Momoko's first interior work done on Demon Days with a gorgeous blacklight cover done by the talented Mike McCone. And Joker number 1, James Tynion goodness, done by the God of War art director Raph Grassetti. ComicTom101.com or hit the link in the description, and let's chat about the number 1 hottest book in the world.
And just in case you thought the mutants were running this list again, coming in at number 1, he's back, baby. Ultimate Fallout 4, first appearance of Miles Morales.
There we go. The list is starting to feel like it's going back to normal, right? We got Miles Morales leading it. Last week, the 9.8 exceeded $2,000 for the first time, hitting $2,100. That was not an anomaly. It was broken an incredible 16 times in the last 7 days.
All right, guys, the CGC 9.6, which was selling for $725 last week, up 34%, now selling for $975. The 9.6 is on its way to become a $1,000 book.
That's an increase of 34% in just a week. Clearly, members are excited about the news that Key Collector got on the down low that casting was already in process, possibly already done for a live action adaptation. And a 9.8 this week went above the prior record of $2,100 last week, going for $2,692 this week, an increase of 28%. And as we're recording, the record was broken. But you're going to have to hit the subscribe button to hear about that next week.
Then we have the 1 out of 25 Djevik variant in a 9.8, which sold for $14,400 just past January, up 10%, selling at $15,800.
You're right, that 9.8 is on the rise, just like the 9.6, whose high record was broken 12 times this week. Let's put in perspective and compare the census count of these very wanted collectibles. There's a total of 644 currently graded on both the CGC and CBCS census of the Ultimate Fallout Djevik variant. And of those numbers, 151 are graded at 9.8, which is approximately 6% of the market compared to the standard cover quantities in the same grade. Clearly, that Djevik variant is way more scarce at 9.8. That ratio matters, which is why we're seeing it creep up, and up. Comic fam, I gotta know your thoughts about all of this market news in the comment section below. It'll enter you to win an Eternals #1 variant by the very talented Lucio Padilla. And as always,
Geek responsibly and stay minty fresh.
Enough
said. As always, thanks for watching, Comic Fam. You can choose from other videos to watch right here or right here. Also, come swing over to my channel for the weekly comic book day reviews, statue unboxings, and omnibus hauls.
Link in the description. Go follow Gem and join the Gempire. And have a great week.